Okay, Dr. RJ Bruno, and I wanted to talk about some myths of aging. Excuse me, because there's a few things I have to check on here, so I have some notes just to help me. There's different myths that people have about aging, which not necessarily are true. One of the things that they talk about is the older individual who's prone to being lonely. It really depends on lifestyle. If somebody is active after age 65, if they're still married, there's really no reason for that. This is just a myth that all people become lonely or depressed. If you have that problem, you probably need to see your doctor because depression can be treated. Also, along with that is the fact that now that you're older, because you're not doing anything, you don't need to sleep so much. So it's okay now that you only get 4 or 5 hours of sleep because you're older. Definitely not true. If anything, sometimes the sleep gets a little bit longer. Older individuals need 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night, just like the younger people. And it's very possible that when they're working real long hours, they might have got less sleep. So now's the time when they can get lots of rest. There's also the myth that old dogs can't learn new tricks. Again, this is a myth. It's not true. There are a lot of people who have gone to college after age 65 and learn lots of things. In my job position, every few years you had to recertify for family medicine. My last certification was about a year or so before I retired. So I was already past 65 when I took my last certification exam. And I passed my exam and recertified family medicine at an older age. So not true, not true. Also, the idea of injury from exercise. Mom and dad shouldn't do too much because they might hurt themselves. Not really true. I mean, as long as you are staying in good shape, there's no reason you have any extra reason for injury more than the average person. So this is just kind of like, I guess you would call it old shaming. Along with this goes dementia. That people think, oh, I'm older, I'm going to become demented, there's no hope for me. Yeah, not really. The dementia has some genetic factors, but not that much. It's actually more due to environmental factors. So if people are eating good diet or taking care of themselves, they shouldn't have any problem. One of the things that's really important, by the way, for dementia is hearing aids. If you can't hear, you can't, have conversations. And so you kind of wall yourself off from talking to other people. So some of your pleasure is gone. You may have trouble hearing the TV set, using the phone. You let all this stuff go, it's not good. Make sure you get your hearing taken care of. Also, on this, again, it's families who are kind of like having some discussions with mom and dad. Oh, you shouldn't drive. You're too old to drive a car. You have to take driving tests every so often. If an older person can pass their driving test, why should they be any different than the 17-year-old who takes a driving test and passes their driving test? Both should be able to drive. And that's kind of the way it is. There are plenty of people who drive late in their 80s with no problems. Again, it's more the family worrying than anything. I even had to tell one of the families who was so worried, why don't you send dad for a driving test? If he can pass the driving test, you got no worries. If he fails the driving test, they'll take his license away. So no problem. Of course, unfortunately, my patient failed his driving test. And so that was the end of his driving. But at least he had a chance, Also, with this, I think, the idea the osteoporosis is inevitable. Again, it depends on lifestyle. If you had plenty of calcium in your diet early on, if you stayed fit early on, yeah, you're going to lose a little bit of the calcium from your bones. But if you have more to start with, you're going to have more to finish up with. It's a simple factor, of what you got. If you have 150% more calcium than the average person, even if you lose 20 or 30%, you still got more than the average person when you finish up. So your bones are going to be strong. Also, the last one, which I really want to kind of mark on, is the fact that sometimes when people get older, they say, "Oh, I'm too old to stop smoking." There's always a benefit from stopping smoking. Don't forget that after the age of 65, you have a greater risk of heart attack, stroke, lung problems. So anytime you can stop smoking, it's going to be good for you. Your lung function improves fairly rapidly. Your risk of heart disease and stroke goes down after about 6 months without the cigarettes. So it's a good thing if you can stop any time in your life, whether you're 20 years of age or 80 years of age. It's always a good thing to get off those cigarettes. Okay, take care. Hope this is helpful.